Hi, everybody. It's episode 368 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It's Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
I'm here.
How you guys doing?
Oh, pretty good.
You know, this was actually one of the nicer days I've had in weeks when it came to work. Not that bad. I'm just a little tired.
That's good. And to be honest, Drew, the way you started that, I thought you were going to say, "Oh, not great."
I'm tired because the last 2 days I've been up past my bedtime because of fantasy football drafts and shit, but it could be worse.
Yeah, at least you get to make pretenders, whatever. I only have a vague understanding of fantasy football. I'm going to be honest.
I'm about to change my team name, Pretenders.
That's a good name.
It is a good name.
You're welcome. If you win, I would like a small percentage.
I will give you $1.
That works.
That would be a small percentage.
It is a small percentage.
I didn't say I wanted 15% or anything like that, so $1 I will take.
Yeah, and it's only the contingency is I have to win. So that's honestly that's a deal I'm willing to make.
You know, it does suck though. If say you I don't really know how this works, but if you were to win, but you only were to win $5, you're giving me
20%,
a fifth of that. 20%. Thank you. I was trying to think of the other percentage, and it just wasn't working. Versus if I would have just said I would like 10%. You would just owe me 50 cents.
You know what? If I end up just winning $5, I'll just give you the $5. I'm not breaking a 5 to give you $1.
What if they gave you 5 ones?
Then you're getting $1. It depends on what I get. If they give me $10, I'll break that 10 and give you $1. But if they only give me $5 and it's just a $5 bill, fuck it. You can have the $5 bill.
Drew, you run one of these, right?
I do.
If Richie wins, can you give it to him in unwrapped pennies?
Probably not. That would require going to the bank, and that's annoying.
Is it?
Kinda.
You just call him ahead of time.
You would need, $50 for a whole box, so...
You can get just a roll.
Well, I know you can get just a roll, and a roll is what, $1?
50 cents.
50 cents.
Is it 50 cents?
Yep.
It's been a while since I actually had to deal with those. Cause when I worked at McDonald's, I had to do the coin or the change run every one. I could have okay. So then, the box would be $25.
Yeah, because you never just get one roll of pennies. You never get an odd number of pennies either. You always get an even number of rolls, so that you're not giving them 50 cents because that's just stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just call them up and be like, "Hey, I need $50 in pennies," and you roll up and they hand you 2 boxes full of pennies, and then Drew can get one of those shitty canvas bags with the dollar signs on it, and just break all the rolls of pennies inside of it, and then just give you a bag full of pennies.
You know, that's fine. I'll go to the penny arcade and have it count and shortchange me a bit, but it is.
They got rid of those. They got rid of those because they were shortchanging people.
There's the Republic Bank in Deptford now. They have the coin counter.
Oh, I didn't know they had them. Because I think even Wegmans got rid of theirs.
No, they still have theirs. It's right in the front.
Maybe they stopped doing money for it. They might only do gift cards now.
Yeah, a lot of places do gift cards for it. And you get more money by doing gift cards because they charge you to do cash.
Yep.
But they don't charge you.
Yeah, TD used to be it used to be free, which was the nice thing about TD. There wasn't a surcharge on it. And then they started doing a surcharge if you weren't an account holder.
Right.
And that sucked because I never had a TD account. So,
Yeah.
Oh, winnings.
Yep.
If you guys win, how much do you normally, does it actually, break down where, you could win $5, or is it just, you win or you lose?
I would never play in a league where at any point I could only win $5. Although I guess the league that I run, that Richie joined this year, you could just win $10 if you are one of the 4 wildcard playoff teams and then make it to the championship game. But,
okay.
If there was a league where the champion got $5, fuck that. It's not worth my time.
Oh, no. So I didn't mean the champion got $5. I meant does it break out where, first place gets so much and it trickles down? Or is it... Okay.
I didn't know. Sometime. Or, one of the league I drafted last night that my brother runs, the winner gets, 80% of the money, and then the person who had the highest point total gets the other 20%. Nobody else gets anything.
Okay.
The league that they ran at my old job, they what was it? They had trade fees, real money trade fees. So it was it'd be $5 for every trade that you did, and there's a chance say you were the top scorer or whatever, but you made 19 trades. You walk away with $1 or $5. That's on you for making 19 trades, but hey, you got top scorer.
Wait,
But
so who
hopefully
kept
if you-
the money?
Well, it would divvy up whatever leftover money would probably have gone to like the champion or the toilet, like that.
Yeah, that's how the one league I'm in works. Is every move costs you $2, but you get the first 5 for free. Then after that, you have to, if you do more than 5 or 10, I forget what it is, you have to pay up, and the extra goes to the. Do we do it towards the champion now, or do we do it? I forget if we do it towards the playoff bracket between the that didn't make the championship playoffs.
I like the idea of giving it to, like, I guess, would that be considered the toilet bowl?
Yeah,
or, like,
probably.
the third, fourth place. Like, give it to the third place
Oh,
winner. So,
well, that league.
like, you have.
That league pays out the top 6.
Okay, so then you give it to the 7th. I don't know. That's crazy. Top 6. That's
Well,
nuts.
there's 20 people in that league, and it's $130 a team. So there are $2,600 of prize money in that league.
Yeah, I think the one that was ran at my job was at least 100 plus, like, transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's nuts.
So when you guys draft stuff, do you, like, especially Drew, since you're in like 12 of these,
I'm only in 3.
do you try and draft similar teams so that if you win big?
I do. It's less of a thought of trying to win big, more I hate playing against players I have in league that I care more or less about.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like,
so,
especially after like the 3rd week, where it's like, okay, well, one team's 3-0, the other team's 0-3. I hate having a player on my 0-3 team that is then playing against my 3-0 team. And it's like, well, shit, I'm going to fuck myself. Like, great, I did well with the team that hadn't won a game yet, but my team that is in first place lost and now pulling me down. And it's like, I hate having to root against players I have.
yeah, because you basically get points based on like performance of like specific positions and like defense and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also depends, like, it depends on the league scoring. The league that Drew runs is a scoring system, the league that I'm in. And then the other league that I'm in that we're drafting tomorrow for. And so, like, with the league that Drew runs, there's not as much emphasis on wide receivers as there is in the other league I'm in, where it's a half point per catch, like, and they do fractional pointing, so it's like they go up to tenths, or hundredths, I guess, 2 decimal points. So, like, that makes that, like, that little bit, that 0.5 points, even though it's kind of similar in Drewton's league, where it's every 2 catches is 1 point, every catch is a half a point in this other league, so that, like, does make a little bit of a difference. It changes your draft strategy just that little.
That and that other league is incredibly unlikely to have a tie ever happen because of those half points. Like, where there is almost always at least one tie a year in the league I run.
Okay.
It winds up, it's like, a lot of games will be close to winding up a tie, but the fractional point almost makes it impossible for there to be a tie.
Which is nice, because that probably makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6-1, half dozen the other. Like, it sucks to lose. I have literally lost and won games by 1 yard, essentially. So by 0.1 point, I've won. There was actually a time where I definitely won by less than a yard. Like, my quarterback threw for like 1 more yard, and it got me a 0.02 more point, and I won. But, like, when you look at the, like, the score ESPN would show, we had the same score, because it was like 149.64 or 0.6, but it didn't show that it was 0.65 to 0.64, 0.64 to 0.63 or whatever, you know? So it was like, oh, I fucking won this by like a yard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess, do you guys want to get into the actual show?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Rich, what's on the agenda tonight?
So, I know I spoke a lot about Returnal last week, but immediately after we got done recording, I beat Returnal last week. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Then, Cobb, you were able to make it through 12 minutes, and we've all read in some way, shape, or about the ending. So, we're going to have a further discussion about that. Then, Cobb, you watched a couple of Candyman from 1992 and White Lotus, which is a series. And then we actually did, hopefully, all three of us, Truton, watched the Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica anime series for the book club. We'll talk it.
All right. Well, Rich, how was the end of Returnal?
You know, the difficulty spike in the middle part of the game drops, and I'm not happy. The last two worlds of the game were were so easy, and it was kind of a bummer. Like, there was no boss in the fifth world or fifth biome, whatever you want to call it.
Did you just miss the boss?
No, there's no boss. So at the second half of the game, there are these points that you need to get. Or not points, there's keys that you need to get. In biome 4, there's 2 keys you need to get to unlock the vault, to get to the boss, to fight the boss, to get the whatever you need to activate the teleporter to get to the next area. In biome 5, there's just 3 keys that you need to find. And there is like a mini boss in front of each key or whatever, maybe. But you get the keys, you activate them, and you just get the thing that lets you go into the worst area of the world, the motherfucking water temple. Yeah, the final biome is a fucking water temple, with water temple fucking physics. So, and it's just, there's no boss. You just get this thing and you just dive into the water. And like, that to me is a little bit of a letdown that there's no boss at the end of that region. And that essentially whenever you go into that biome, you can just go right to the next biome immediately without even having to worry about anything. So you never, ever have to play through that biome ever again. Because you can go to the water biome immediately from the fourth biome. So it's just like, it was dumb, because also the final boss, once you understand its mechanics, really fucking easy. It took me 1 try. Like, I didn't die, I barely got hurt, if at all.
So you finally got good.
I've been good the whole time.
That's not what I've heard.
You should watch my streams. Like, I think I only, streamed it 4 times? And the only area I had trouble with was Biome 3. That was, and probably is, the hardest area. Biome 4, I maybe made it through that area in 2 runs. And then going through Biome 5 and getting to Biome 5, there might have been 1 or 2 instances where I died in Biome before I even got to Biome 5. But for the most part, maybe 4 runs to get through Biome 4 or Biome 5 into the water area, made it completely through the water area with barely having any damage dealt to me because I had a leech weapon that kept sapping up health whenever I hurt things, and then just I made it to the ending. And
well, good job, I guess.
Yeah, but it's just like, it was it was a weird ending. Like, it kind of makes sense, maybe. But it was weird.
Was it as sort of, I don't want to say depressing, because that's not the right word, but melancholy as that, like, mid-game ending was? No, like, I mean, yes, maybe. So, like, the mid-game ending, the first run ending, like we talked about last week, she lives her life for 63 years after the events that happened on Atropos, dies of old age or disease or whatever, and then comes back to life on Atropos 63 years later. Like, time has passed on. But in this ending, you fight the boss, and, like, each phase he changes what he looks like, but essentially has the same attack patterns with just a little bit extra things that you need to dodge. And the last form of him, he looks like the astronaut, which was kind of chasing you, or, like, stalking you throughout most of the game. But, like, I really don't feel like I got any explanation on the astronaut. But you beat them, you gather whatever things you can gather, and it has you jump further down into the water, where you start running through, like, you run past this car, and she starts talking, and it essentially shows that, like, you're here on this planet. You weren't actually, like, an explorer or a space person, an astronaut yourself, or, like, an agent of whatever this company was, Astra, I believe it was called. Like, you were just driving down the road with your daughter, I believe, your child, and you happen to see the astronaut on the street while you're trying to change the radio station, and you try to swerve to dodge them, and, like, you still hit them, but you crashed your car into the water and you weren't able to save your daughter, and then the anomaly and the octopus thing takes you and puts you on Atropos.
Huh.
or something. I guess it's up to interpretation, but it was just like it wasn't anything what I was expecting, and it was just I was like, it wasn't a letdown, but like the fact that the difficulty spiked in area 3 and 4 and then dropped in 5 and 6, it kind of like I'm like, do I really need to play through? Like, why did they make the game so hard halfway through, and then just was I just that good? Did I have that good of a setup, or did the game just become that easy? It just
maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Maybe you got lucky and had a good setup and like got the mechanics down well.
Yeah.
And like the game is just a little easier.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, when I was fighting the final boss, like the first like few minutes of the fight, and you can check my stream VOD to watch it, like there's these blue bubbles out that I'm shooting, and like I thought I saw dealing damage, but I'm sitting there and like not much damage is being dealt. It wasn't until like a few minutes in that I realized, oh, when I shoot these blue bubbles, it bursts, and then orange orbs come out of the creature, and I have to shoot the orange orb to hurt it, and I have to break all the orange orbs before it changes next phase. And so like after I learned that, I was like, okay, this is too easy. Like the moves that he used were just way too projected, way too easy to move to dodge, and like I think I barely used my dash, and most of the time was just jumping because it's underwater physics. So you jump super high really slow, or you jump super high and then fall really slow. So it's like you're really easily able to like adjust yourself all in the air, and it's just like it felt a little anticlimactic to me. I was expecting a much more difficult boss, especially based on the boss in Biome 5. It's freaking fantastic. I call him the I can't remember what his actual name is, but he's the organ player, and he plays an organ, and it's just like there's just so much happening on the screen when you're fighting this guy. It's just like it was so cool. But like then to fight no boss in the next region, to then fight kind of just a lame boss in the last region. I don't know. It's weird. It was weird.
Yeah, that is kind of like anticlimactic.
Yeah, like overall, in general, absolutely fun game. And I do plan on occasionally going back and playing it from time to time, just to like maybe try to platinum it or whatever. But I don't really know how many platinums I have left. But it's mostly just doing runs and hoping to pick up the things you haven't picked up already.
Well, to be fair, there's only one platinum left for the game.
Well, I meant all the trophies.
No, I know.
But
I'm just
like,
fucking with you.
Like there's like you have to go pick up what's the word, like ciphers to be able to read the alien language, or you have to go pick up data logs that one of your previous life cycles had left, or a future life cycle. Who knows? Because I think I read a data log from a future.
Oh, that's actually kind of weird.
Yeah,
reading stuff from the future.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, the data log, like, had her saying, I've been here for 63 years, blah, 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 blah. And then when I landed after the first cycle, after I thought I broke the cycle and escaped the planet, and she came back to life, she was like, it's been 63 years. So I think, like, that was essentially, the data log I got in the past was actually a data log from the future of her saying, like, I didn't break the cycle, but I didn't get all that when I was listening to the data log. It has just some really cool ideas and really cool things about the game, but it was a very anticlimactic ending, and like I kind of wish I did read up more on the ending to try to understand maybe what was happening that I didn't get, because it was also almost 1:00 in the morning, because like it was my first run. I played for like a half hour. My first run of that night, I played for like a half hour. Died in the next biome, in the 5th biome, and then the next run was that final run, and it went from, we probably wrapped up like 8:30ish, so it went from 9 to like 11:30, 12, and so like maybe I didn't fully understand it because I just wanted it to be over, and not in like this game sucks, I want it to end, in I wanted to go to bed an hour ago, but I couldn't save in the middle of my run, and I don't want to run the risk of the power going out and me losing this run.
Which is fair.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a fun game. I feel like I got my money's worth for it being on sale. I honestly don't think it would have been worth $70. So if you can find it on sale, absolutely get it. If you really like roguelikes and you like the idea of a roguelike with a bullet hell with a pseudo Metroidvania style gameplay, this is your thing. Go ahead and go for it. But I would personally, just with how the ending came out, I would wait until it's like $40, maybe even less.
Like I said, I'm waiting for PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, it'll be on there eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
It's an exclusive. It'll be on there eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's really all I had about that.
Yeah, so in that case, we can go from one time loop game to another with 12 minutes. Well, more 12 minutes. So you guys both kind of read up on the story and the endings and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I read up was that article from, was it Screen Rant that you sent us? That's all I've read up on for this, for the ending of this game. Not Screen Rant.
Yeah, which, honestly, like, that thing was, it wasn't super detailed, but it at least gave you, like, an idea of what the different endings were. So, we talked about the gameplay and everything last week. I'm not going to get into that again because the gameplay really stays the same. I might mention a few things as we're going. But assume from this point until the next segment is spoilers. Check the episode notes to see when the next section starts. Unless you just don't care about spoilers for 12 minutes, then just keep going. So the game, it stays pretty... I think the beginning of the game is still interesting. I think by like the halfway point, especially the last like 2 or 3 loops, it's way too repetitive. And then the endings themselves are not great. Just not good at all.
Yeah, the endings seemed real dumb.
Yes. So to give everybody an idea, so the endings, so the way the game plays out, we talked about it this last week, is you come home, your wife has a surprise for you. A few minutes into being home, a cop shows up and tries to arrest you both, but in actuality just ends up killing you over and over again. By different sets of circumstances, you can capture the cop first, interrogate them. You can actually call the cop's daughter to get them to stop the cop from just barging in and like attacking you. But the whole thing is the cop is trying to find a pocket watch that belonged to your wife's father, that's apparently worth a lot of money. And your wife apparently killed her father 8 years prior. And it seems like the game is just setting it up to you proving that it couldn't have been your wife that did it. Mm-hmm. And that's actually kind of interesting, like up to a certain point.
Sure.
But like I said, the last like 3 or so loops, assuming you do everything just right, you have to do almost the exact same things like 3 or 4 times in a row. Mm-hmm. And there's no skip button for dialogue and stuff like that. So the closest thing they have to a skip is you can hit A to make a single line go a little bit faster. And if you are at a waiting point where you just have to wait for like the cop to show up, you can choose, like, you can talk to your wife and say, wait for the cop to get here. Or
okay,
if you're in one of the loops that requires you to hide in the closet, you can look out the blinds, and if you just don't move for a second, it'll go, and now we wait. And then it'll fast forward to the cop arriving. But this is also assuming that you actually do everything just right in the right timing and everything. So at one point, you find out that there's a Polaroid on the fridge of your wife from 8 years ago on New Year's Eve when she supposedly killed her dad. And that proves that she didn't kill the dad.
Uh-huh.
You're supposed to pick that up and look at it and like see that she didn't kill the dad. You then cannot use that in that loop to get the cop to not attack you. You just have to basically like die or get hit or attacked or whatever. And then in the next loop, you would assume that you have to get the picture to then give it to the cop. But no, you have to leave the fucking picture on the fridge so that the wife takes the cop over to it.
Okay, why?
Yeah, so if you have the picture on you and try to present it to the cop at any point, the first time he tells you to shut your mouth or he'll kill you, and then the second time he kills you. Like, that's it. And like at that point in the game too, like you've called his daughter and like gotten his daughter to call him to like ask him not to just assume everything and to listen to you and your wife. Mm-hmm. So he does that, but all of his dialogue is still super threatening. Like you open the door, he's like, "Okay, let's talk," and then immediately goes, "Get on the ground." It's like, what the fuck?
So, at any point in time, do they explain how you know the cop's daughter?
So, in one of the loops, you trick the cop into going into the bedroom and turning the light on, which shocks him and knocks him out. You then go in there, while he's unconscious, you use his handcuffs to cuff him, and then you take his cell phone and you go through his cell phone.
Okay.
And if you call any number you call, you then remember it. And your wife has her cell phone in her jacket pocket in the closet. So as long as you go in the closet, get the cell phone, the daughter's number is one of the available numbers.
Okay.
You can also write phone numbers down and like manually dial them. So like at one point, like I dialed 911, and you can actually dial 911 with the phone like first thing, like immediately go in the closet, grab the cell phone, call 911. The operator just and you tell the operator what's going on, and they're just like, all right, we've dispatched somebody. They'll be there in about 15 minutes. The game only lasts 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the cops can never arrive to help you.
Yeah.
Which like stuff like that early game stuff is actually really cool. And even when you're trying to prove to your wife that you're stuck in a loop, there's like a handful of things you can do to prove it. Like you can point out the window basically and tell her that thunder's going to happen on a night where there's no clouds. And you'll only pick up on that if you're paying attention that every time the thunder strikes in each loop, your wife goes, "Oh, I wasn't expecting rain tonight."
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few other like little things like that you can do to prove that you're in a time loop. After like the second or third time that you have to prove it, you don't have to go through those things. Like you basically just go to your wife and be like, "Look, I know there's a fucking pocket watch in the bathroom. I know you killed your father. Like, what the fuck is going on?" And she just accepts it at that point and like trusts you. But so aside from the last few loops being super repetitive and taking too long because you have to listen to all of the same dialogue and make all the same choices, and if you mess up even a little bit on your timing, you have to do the whole loop over. Like there's no like redos.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks because a lot of the stuff is just waiting at a certain point. Like when you're trying to set your wife up to like drug her basically, if in one loop I was trying to do that and I did it, I put the water down too early on the table, and she just comes by and drinks the water, and then when you fill it up and put it down again with the pills in it, she doesn't drink any.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up having to just get out of my chair and just walk out of the apartment to reset it to like redo that whole section. But the bigger issue, and like what a lot of people were complaining about, is the ending. So you find out through all of these loops eventually that your character, the husband, is actually the wife's half-brother that really killed the father.
Okay.
Yeah. So through all the loops, like you determine with the cop that the wife didn't do it, but that somebody came back 8 days after your wife ran away from home, and your wife did shoot her dad, but it was in like self-defense trying to escape. But he survived that, and then 8 days later, somebody came and shot him 2 more times in the chest, and he died from that one.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like the picture proves your wife didn't do it, and like when the cop accepts that, you then have a chance to talk to your wife again, and you find out that she had a half brother, but she doesn't she never met him. She doesn't know anything about him. She just knows that it was the nanny's child that your dad had an affair with the nanny, but your wife was too young to even remember her name, and all you knew was that your mother always called him Monster. And so through a bunch of like literally through looping and doing the same thing like 3 more times, you eventually determine that the baby clothes that your wife bought as like the surprise for having a baby has your mother's name on it, and it is the nanny's name. And that's how you figure out that you are playing as the half brother who killed the father and doesn't remember it. So you then get like a scene where if you get the pocket watch, and it like rewinds time, and it shows you in a room with a guy with like dark hair, and you're struggling, and he's basically telling you to leave the daughter alone, and you have the option of like yes or no, basically like yes, I'll leave her alone, or no, I won't. And you end up struggling with a gun, and it accidentally goes off and shoots him twice, and that's that. The weird thing is this random guy with the hair has Willem Dafoe's voice.
Yeah, I read that.
But like Willem Dafoe is the cop. So the cop that has been attacking you this whole time is also the father's voice, which is weird. So when you go back into the game, because you can like basically re-enter the loop and like do things a few more times, and depending on what options you pick, there's one option where if you do choose to leave the wife, it picks back up in the apartment and you're just alone. Like she's not there anymore because she left. But if you go back in, pick up the watch and look at the watch, it seems to take you to like not the past, where you're in a room with the cop who turns out to be the dad. And it seems like the entire game has actually just been in your mind. And one of the endings alludes to the dad hypnotizing you as a way to make you like forget everything and like not be in love with your sister. Because to be fair, like neither party knew that they were related up front.
Yeah.
And it was like he found out after the fact, and that's when things got weird. But yeah, like the whole ending is basically like, oh yeah, no, the whole game takes place in your head, and it's just it's literally just comes down to, do you want to be in an incestuous relationship with your sister? Like that is how the game ends. And like there's a few different options to whether you try to make it work with the sister, or whether you tell her the truth, or like a whole bunch of like weird stuff. But it's not a good ending. It's, for all of the mystery they built up, that was such a bad way to finish it. And not even because it's a brother-sister thing, just because like it being basically a dream is just a really shitty cop-out.
Yeah, like that's a cop-out. Like, but also like, why brothers and why? What does that feel at all in any way justified to be there?
Yeah, like honestly, I think it would have been cooler if the cop was actually the brother.
Sure, or
like. That also wouldn't have worked great, but just like the brother-sister thing, like them being married and siblings, and then it also being a dream, just felt so... It was boring. Like it ruined what was otherwise an interesting mystery.
I don't know. I haven't played it. I've only read this, and as I was reading it, I was going the other way. I was like, this is actually fascinating and interesting. This is an interesting take. Like, if they deliver it properly, if it does have good delivery, then I would probably enjoy going through this. Like, this is kind of similar to like the midpoint in Returnal. Like, this is kind of like the mind-blowing thing. Like, oh, this didn't actually fucking happen. This is just the dad trying to stop them from being in a relationship they honestly probably shouldn't be in.
Yeah, but the Returnal one was different in that it did actually happen. Your character's just in a time loop, so they got brought back to the beginning. Well, no, I guess by the end, like the ending that you just told us about, I guess that's not the case, but that's how it appears while you're playing it, at least.
Yeah, but like, there's like this whole thing is making me think of the movie. I believe it was called Identity. Do you guys remember that movie? Did you ever see it?
I can't say I remember what movie you're talking about.
So I believe it was called Identity. I can't 100% remember, but it is a movie that I think it was made in like the early to mid 2000s, and it's about a criminal who has multiple personalities disorder, and they are trying to transport this criminal to prison because they murdered a bunch of people. They were a murderer. This guy has like 13 personalities in his head, and so the whole movie takes place in this criminal's head of all the personalities meeting for the first time and them slowly being killed off. And it's them trying to figure out which, like the personalities themselves in the guy's head, trying to figure out which of these personalities is the killer. And I can't remember the main cast.
I just looked it up. It's got like John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Peet. I've never seen this movie.
John Cusack is the I believe Edgar from Men in Black was the criminal. I think. Can't remember his no, it was somebody else.
No, that's fucking yeah, thank you.
No.
I was gonna say, like, Vincent D'Onofrio definitely is not in this.
I don't remember who the criminal was. Pruitt Taylor Vince, I guess. That's who. Yeah. But the whole movie takes place essentially in this guy's head, where like they are transporting him to prison. And somehow they set it up in his head that all of his personalities are intermingling, and essentially the murderer is there and is killing each of the personality. And it ends up that John Cusack and Amanda Peet were able to like defend themselves and survive. And it ended up being the three, Cusack, Peet, and a little boy left. And it turns out the whole time the little boy was the murderer, and he's the one who took over Pruitt Taylor Vince's brain, Malcolm Rivers' brain. And he's still a murderer, and he's killing to this day, or something like that. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. But, like, that, like, when I was reading the ending to 12 minutes, it had some strong, like, this is like one of those psychological type thrillers. It reminded me a lot of Identity. And it made me think, like, if this is delivered properly, if this is delivered in a good way, this could be really good.
But that's the problem. It's not delivered well. That's what I was saying. Like, all the delivery at the end is very muddy. Like, the characters are just saying things that don't fit. And then you actually have to loop, like, 4 more times to actually figure out what is really happening. Like, the game basically ends the first time with you accidentally killing the father in, like, the fake past. And then if you don't go in and actually pull the pocket watch out and, like, look at it and, like, go through a bunch of other steps, you don't get any of those other endings. And those other endings don't actually make things better. It actually hurts it more by just being like, oh yeah, no, this whole thing just wasn't real. Like, there wasn't really a mystery here at all.
Like, from what I was reading, like, it just almost, like, nothing feels earned. It doesn't feel that it's earned the ability, it's the respect in the narrative to have it be a dream in your head. Like, you can totally
that's a good way to put it.
But, like, I don't, and correct me if you've played it, so you'll know, does it ever feel like it even hints at the fact it could have been a dream, you know?
I don't think so. I mean, other than it being like a time loop, like, I never got the impression that this was a dream, and the way that the characters are played, like, you never get the impression that, like, the cop is really the dad. Though, like, the cop's not the dad, but he is a
representation of the dad,
yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah, but, like, he is playing as a friend of the dad, basically. But then, like, the whole thing with, like, and that's the other thing that doesn't make any real sense. So you've got your wife, who presumably, like, your character knows, and the cop is supposed to be the dad, and this is just what his imagination is doing. But then you have a daughter that you, like, the cop's daughter that you call and have conversations with that has a whole backstory of her own that doesn't fit into the narrative at all. And it's like your subconscious just made this up and it doesn't fit the plot. It was just, it's like the guy who wrote the game needed some sort of catalyst to be able to stop the cop from attacking you as soon as he comes into the apartment, but didn't have a way to loop it back to what he already had set as the closing point. Because, like, normally when they do stuff like that where everything's in somebody's head, especially in this case, different things are related to different people from, like, the real world. Whereas, like, the movie that Richie was talking about, it sounds like that was actually probably, like, done better. And the whole idea of it being, like, at the end was, like, it was supposed to be a surprise that it was actually a kid that did it. Or that the whole thing was in his head.
Well,
whereas
I think it was known that the whole thing was in his head the entire movie.
But, like, not that it was a child.
Yeah, it wasn't known that the child was.
And so, like, at that point, like, that's interesting because you're almost more of a, like, that's almost more of, like, a whodunit. Whereas this didn't really have that feeling because you didn't really have all the characters because they didn't tell you kind of what to expect from it. And not that they need to tell you what to expect, but you kind of only got half the picture for the majority of it. And it was, like, the wrong half. So they started putting you in one direction and then just pulled the carpet out from under you.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Without having had played this, like, I'm up in the air whether or not I'd actually enjoy it. Just for the fact of, like, they're trying to seemingly promote this realistic, like, time loop, but you happen to, just because you learn the daughter's phone number once, you always have it, and the daughter's just willing to talk to you. It just, in modern society, I don't answer a phone of a number I don't know. So why the fuck would the daughter answer her phone?
Well, so not everybody doesn't answer the phone, for one. But
people do.
To be fair, if you don't talk to her correctly, she hangs up on you and basically tells you to go fuck yourself and then won't answer the phone again afterwards. So, like, if you have to basically answer the phone and it takes multiple tries, you might be able to do it on the first try if you have enough information. But, like, the first time I called her, I did not say that. And she just immediately hung up and refused to answer. So, like, it's the whole matter of if you don't say the right thing, she will just hang up and tell you to go away and then, like, block your number. And everything's timing. Like, if you call her too early, it seems like even if your wife is starting to accept what's going on, when you call her, the first thing you're supposed to tell her is that your dad's coming to kill them because he thinks that your wife murdered somebody. And if that's not timed right, your wife just gets mad at you and leaves. And then the whole loop is fucked and you just have to start over. So that's kind of the problem. Like, it's not a very well polished game either. Like, I feel like it needed it. Unfortunately, it's been in development for like 6 or 7 years because I think it was like one guy did the majority of the work. But it definitely needed more people to do a little bit more polish to the mechanics of the game, and then maybe the story ending wouldn't have felt so just meh and like unearned. Like, is another good way to put it. But because like the game was rough, to say the least, when it came to a lot of mechanics and how you had to interact with things. and then that was the ending they threw at you. It definitely did hurt it more than help it.
Yeah, I would just I'd have to agree with you because I haven't played it. I've only read it. But like I said, what I read, I was like, this could be really good. But if they don't deliver it properly, it obviously wasn't that good. And that's why, like, I just have to take your word for it for the most part. But like this whole idea of us reading the spoilers and coming up with continuing this conversation, besides the fact that you finished it, was the whole idea that people were hating on it because although the game was good, it was a shitty game because the ending sucked.
And like I don't totally disagree. Like, the ending did kind of ruin the experience for me. And again, it's not just the ending though. Like, when you add the ending with how just uneven the gameplay and the delivery feels, especially when you're getting near the end and you're having to do the same thing for 10, like, you figure it's multiple 10-minute loops to really kind of like get everything. And you're listening to the same dialogue every time, and it's not until the very end of that dialogue that anything is different. And during one of them, in the part where you find out that the mother's name by handing over the clothes, it took me 3 tries for him to actually fucking accept the clothes. So that was 3 loops I had to go through because the game just wasn't letting me drag the clothes onto him before he walked out of the room. Because it's very, you literally have one block of text, and it's not It's not like a normal RPG where you're hitting A to move through text. You have one block of his text to offer him the clothes. If for some reason the game decides to make you walk around him in a fucking circle like it did for me, and his dialogue keeps going and it finishes that block, he won't accept the clothes and he'll just attack you for interrupting him.
Then that I'm sorry, like that mechanically is a flawed game.
That's what I'm saying. But
like,
by the end of the game...
But like, here's the thing, like, here's what I'm trying to say, though. Sorry to cut you off, but like, the entire game is like that. The entire game, you have to call the daughter multiple times to get the right conversation. So if you're saying by the end it gets repetitive, well, it's been repetitive since the beginning.
Well, so there's differences. At least I can see differences in having to call the daughter to figure out the conversation you need to have with her. Like, that is a actual choice type thing versus something that sounds broken. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, having to call, and that is also later in the set of loops. Also, having to do that multiple times is really just comes down to by calling her and asking her the different questions, you can get additional information about things too. But it's the things near the end where you have to present things in a very small window, and the game doesn't accept that, and then you just get it was all a dream, and it's like, cool. So I just sat here for 20 minutes trying to hand him pajamas to find out it was a dream.
So essentially, it's you're getting a game where the gameplay mechanics don't come into play until the very end, and that's when it's all broken. And
no, the gameplay mechanics are happening throughout the whole thing, and like, they're just not timed like that. Like, you don't have like very specific small windows through the whole game. Have you ever played an adventure game before by chance? Like a point and click adventure?
Not really, no.
So, especially like back in like the 90s and stuff, like the LucasArts and the Sierra, I think was the other company.
Sierra definitely made a bunch.
Yeah. They tended to be kind of like zany, goofy bullshit, like where it really was clicking on an object and dragging it into another object and seeing if it did anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what this has, just not in the zany matter. So there's a lot of trial and error to a game like this. This being a time loop makes it a little more trial and error-y than like classic adventure games where you can really just click on an item and just drag it to every other item to see what would happen. But this one, it's like, all right, well, let me try this time and see if I get new story. And for the most part, that's fine because you're not dealing with very small windows after elaborate setups. Once you get to like the final 2 loops or so, they're very elaborate setups with a lot of dialogue to then potentially fail them because of a very small window to do it, and the game just not accepting it. It's not like a quick action, like a quick time event where like I just have to hit Y fast enough for it to happen. I just keep fucking up because I'm bad at those. He says the name starts with D. Like that's his line. It's something flowery. It starts with D. When he says that, you have to go up to your inventory, and this might be better on PC, but it sucks on a fucking controller. You have to use your analog stick to move the cursor to the top of the screen, and then click on the clothes, hold A, and then drag them onto him. And depending where everyone is positioned, and you have no control over anyone's positioning, you might be able to your character might just walk right up to the cop and hand him the clothes and be like, hey, look at this. Was this her name? Or, like it happened to me on my first try, he will, for some reason, go to the other side of the room and around your wife and then, like, zigzag up to him. And the cop will have started to leave already. Because as soon as you let go of the inventory item on him, time starts moving and the cop starts finishing, like, his loop, basically. So, like, but before that, so one of the early loops is shocking the cop so that you can get information from him about why he's attacking you guys, what he's looking for, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's a super cool setup when you finally figure it out. If you hide in the closet before your wife comes out of the bathroom, she doesn't know you're home. So she just goes about her business and has no fucking clue that you're hiding in there. Eventually the cop shows up, attacks her, but you're in there listening, so you find out more about the watch and, like, what's going on and everything. Because I think she actually, in that particular loop, she tells him where the watch is, because he is attacking her instead of attacking you. And you actually, the loop resets before as she's saying the location of the watch, if the cop's attacking you. But so the next time when you want to just catch the cop, that's where, like, you basically have to set the whole room up. You get all of the, you get all the cups and the plates and everything like that for dessert into your inventory. You grab the sleeping pills out of the bathroom. You fill all the water cups up and have it all ready to go. Then you tell your wife you're ready for dessert. She goes into the bedroom to get the gift and closes the door. And then you set the table, and when you set the table, you pour the sleeping pills into her cup of water and then sit down at the table. She'll come out. The first thing she does when she sits down is actually drinks water. And then goes in and takes a nap immediately after. And then you can hide in the closet. The cop comes, doesn't know what's going on, goes into the bedroom, turns the light on, shocks himself because you found out earlier the light switch was broken. And then you can go in there and interrogate him. And that's how you get, like, the phone number and everything like that. And Rich, I do get like the little bit of, like, weirdness that you mentioned about, like, if you call a number, you then just know the number. But I think the idea is because you're retaining everything, theoretically, he could have just written all the phone numbers down. Which is, like I said, if I didn't call the daughter from his cell phone, I could have written her number down from the text message and then dialed it on my wife's phone instead of having to just pick the name off of, like, a little side menu.
Does he have... And, like, this might be me picking at straws, but, like, does he get to keep things between loops?
Nope. If not,
then he can't write down the phone number to keep it.
Oh, that's true. But, I mean, he could write it on his hand.
But also, I mean, like, I can justify being able to memorize a number, you know.
Yeah,
like,
and to be... All the phone numbers were 555 and then 4 numbers, so all he really had to memorize is 4 numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's Hollywood phone numbers, but
you know, in, like, that sort of situation, like, if you look at the phone and it's the same area code or, like, identifier thing as what you're used to, it's like, okay, so this is just an 856-534 number. I just remember these last 4 digits because the other ones are just the same as mine.
Right.
Like, yeah. That's reasonable. Yeah, the only thing you keep between loops is your house key that you get before you enter the apartment for the first time. But the loop actually starts right inside of your apartment door, like, each time. But yeah, I mean, that's a valid, like, argument there, though, for losing everything. Yeah, the only thing you retain is, like, the knowledge of what happened in the previous.
Which, like, I mean, that's made good movies, like the Edge of Tomorrow movie and Groundhog Day as well. Like, those are good movies. They're enjoyable movies. They're time loop, but it's just, I don't know, the idea, like, from what you're saying, it sounds to me that the problems people are having with the end, or at least the problems we may have been having with the end, just stem from how the game is made and played in general. And you didn't get to a point where you had to last a long time to fail multiple times until the very end. Whereas, like, Drew and me and you play roguelikes where we can have a 20-minute run and then die and have to do it all the fuck over again. Like,
well, but that's not this game. I don't think. Actually,
this game
here, let
is
me...
100% a roguelike.
No.
It's a story-based roguelike.
No. Hold on. Let me fucking finish. Cobb, can you go longer than, like, 12 minutes? Like, this, it ends in 12 minutes.
The game automatically will end in 12 in like it's I don't even know if it's actually a full 12 minutes, but yeah, like you only have that amount of time. And it's not a roguelike though in that way, cuz like that's a different thing too, because every time you go into a roguelike usually like things are a little different too. Like
mechanically it's not it's a roguelike. Like you go in and you have everything still set up the same as it would generally be in a roguelite. You just have to know how to do it the right way.
No, but what I'm saying is I don't think if you I guess I could be wrong, but I don't think if you knew exactly how to solve this puzzle, you can do it in one shot.
No, it's a minimum. I actually looked after I finished it because I didn't feel like figuring out all of the endings on my own. It's like a bare minimum of, I want to say like 7 or 8 loops, because you have to loop multiple times to get all the information. Like you literally can't progress unless you hide in the closet and let your wife get murdered. And that's also one of the other problems that a lot of people are having is like kind of the sketchy morality of this, based on, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, my throat, tickle. But yeah, like some people are having issues with like just the real sketchy sort of morality about it and the lack of any sort of like content warning, because you act like your wife is important and you love her, but you can also just walk into the bedroom after you've shocked the cop and stab her to death. Like, and at that point you have to know that she is pregnant and that she is hiding the watch from you. Like those are the only two things that you really know about anything at that point. At like the earliest point you can really do that. And yeah, you can just stab her and kill her and then shoot the cop. And actually you can also you can also kill yourself. Like, but, you can actually, like, take a gun and shoot yourself in the head.
But, like, those choices aren't choices you have to make to progress the story, though.
No, but so you have to torture the cop. In order to progress the story, you actually have to torture the cop.
Which, okay, I can kind of understand. You're torturing the antagonist of the game. I'm not going to say I agree with it, but I can get behind that. But the fact that you don't have to, even though you don't have to, because you said earlier, you leave the apartment, it resets the loop. So you get the information and you need to restart, you just leave the apartment. You don't kill yourself or kill your wife or kill anybody, you just leave.
So, like, the cop basically dies regardless when you interrogate him. Like, you stab him, and then by the time you get all the information out of him, he dies before you can leave the room. And I totally lost track of thought there. But yeah, like, the game has a lot of problems. And like I said, like, the initial mystery is interesting, and then by the end, it's like, okay, this wasn't a satisfying conclusion to that mystery at all. And when you pair that with just mechanics that are broken when like the mechanics are great for the bigger set pieces, let's call them, like having to get the table set up correctly so that you can like drug the water, like that's shady as fuck, but like those mechanics work really well. Or even just little things, like if you go into the bathroom and pull the pocket watch out without closing the bathroom door, your wife gets mad and leaves. Because, like, you're digging into shit that she was trying to keep from you. But then, like I said, at the end, when it comes down to, like, real small things that you have to do in a very, like, specific timed order, the game just fucks itself. Or just, like, the simple fact that the game points it out to you, like, every other thing it points out to you, that you need to have the picture. Like, it makes you take the picture at one point. Why wouldn't you assume that during your talk with the cop, you should have the picture? But fuck, if you have the picture, you can't present it to the cop. That there's nothing on the fridge for him to look at. Yeah, so then that whole loop is fucked, and you have to start that whole one over again.
Yeah, and that is honestly the dumbest choice that they could have made with that game. Like, just let me show the picture. Like, this cop sounds like a fucking asshole.
Oh, no, and I mean, he is a figment of your imagination also, which makes it, like, that much worse. Because, like, he is an asshole, but then, like, at the end of it, like, when you sort, like, his bullshit out, like, everything's resolved, and it's actually kind of I don't want to say satisfying, but it's as close to a satisfying sort of, like, conclusion as you get. But then you still loop one more time, and that's when it goes into all the bullshit, where it's like, oh, the brother did it. Oh, you're the brother. Oh, God. Now what? And then it's a dream. But yeah, I don't know. It's on Game Pass, so like, and I think it's on PC Game Pass now. Maybe not. So like, when you do eventually sign up for that free month, like, give it look at it, see what you think.
I'll maybe look.
Honestly,
I'll probably just look at it.
Mechanically, it probably plays a little bit better on PC because it's a point and click adventure. Like, it's meant to be played with a mouse. You're meant to click on things and drag them into other things. And doing that with analog sticks on an Xbox controller, just it was not a very smooth experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the end of 12 minutes. If anyone cares to look into that. Where was I? Oh, so I'm just gonna keep talking. I'm gonna make these two things real quick because I don't want to like get into too much on them. I watched the original Candyman over the weekend.
Okay.
Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
Right. So I guess to preface this, we were trying to watch the new one.
Okay.
Which apparently is not available, like it's not in early access. If you go onto Amazon, though, and search Candyman, it shows a Candyman cover that looks like the new one, but it's tiny, so I might have been wrong. And it has the big early access banner across the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, why would I not think that that's not the new one?
Amazon fucks that up all the time. They had a movie on there, and I think I shared it with someone, called Black Widow, and it was supposed to be, it had the Marvel MCU Black Widow, like, poster. This is like a few months before it even came out. But it was like a movie about an African American widow. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, like,
to be fair,
was...
though, Amazon also had the description for Deadpool 2 listed as the sequel to the first one, which was just spot on marketing for that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that. So luckily, it was still only like a $2 or $3 rental, which should have been a flag right there, but it wasn't. No big deal. I hadn't seen that movie in probably 20 years. Like last time I saw it was in high school, with like people that none of us really hang out with anymore. Yeah. And like at that point, like I didn't pay that much attention to it, but I remember seeing that as like a kid and it being a terrifying movie. I don't know why it was so scary when I was a kid. Like,
because you were a fucking kid.
But like, I can still look at A Nightmare on Elm Street or a Friday the 13th and be like, oh no, I totally understand why this would have been terrifying as an 8 or 9 year old.
Hold on, not Nightmare on Elm Street. Fucking Nightmare Before Christmas. It's not a fucking scary movie.
Wait, did I say Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yes.
Did it?
I thought I said Nightmare on Elm Street.
I thought he said Elm Street.
I heard Elm Street and Nightmare Before Christmas.
No,
I said Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
I swear, there are people out there that said that do say that Nightmare Before Christmas is a scary movie, and I could have swore I thought I heard you say that. Sorry.
I've never seen Nightmare Before Christmas, so I have
Nightmare
no opinion.
Before Christmas is fucking fantastic. It is.
I've seen the first
movie.
I've seen the first 20 minutes of it. I didn't like it. I stopped watching it. Never went back.
Cobb, it's an animated movie that has to speak volume.
No, because I mean Drew also likes wrestling. So what does that say?
I don't know.
Rich, do you like wrestling?
No. I do like Nightmare Before Christmas though.
Which look, I mean, as far as I know, that's basically wrestling. They dress up as characters and they battle each other, right?
What's that?
They got like silly ring names and shit.
The silly names of like Jack Skellington.
Yeah, like that motherfucker looks like he'd be a wrestler.
He
like
probably was.
His face is painted just like that guy we watched on that AEW thing.
Yeah, Darby Allin does have a little bit of Jack Skellington going on there.
Yeah. I've never actually been able to sit through all of that. I don't mind the Corpse Bride though. I thought that one was fine.
I've never seen that one.
I mean, it's not a great movie, but I was able to get through it at least. Yeah, I've Nightmare Before Christmas, I could never get through. Anyway, but I can look at Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th and see why those movies are scary and why they would have been scary as a child. But like in this one, like the Candyman's not really a thing until the very end of the movie for the most part. And the scariest thing that he really does is like he opens up his coat and it's just full of bees. And like that's awful because bees are fucking terrifying. But
yes.
It's not like it wasn't that scary. And it's just weird because in my head, and I remember watching it in high school with people, and like all of us kind of having the same like memory of like, oh no, this movie is terrifying. Mm-hmm. I don't remember us actually finished watching it at the time, but like I remember thinking like, oh yeah, no, this movie was scary as hell when I was a child, and then yeah, no, it wasn't. It's not a bad movie. Like it's actually it's compelling as far as like an early '90s like horror movie goes, but yeah, there's really nothing scary about it. It's more psychological than anything because like you kind of wonder the whole time whether or not the main lady is actually just losing her mind. But yeah, I do still want to see the new one, and apparently the new one So in the original, there's a baby that gets abducted. In the new one, the main character is the baby that had been abducted in the first one. It's not the same actor, obviously, but his mother is actually the same actress as the first one. So they at least kept that things going. But yeah, so Candyman it's not a bad movie if you've never seen it. It's like a $3 rental on Amazon right now. Just don't expect it to be the new one just because it says early access. Fucking Amazon.
You said it's not a bad movie?
No, it's if you like older horror movies like that, I think it's actually a pretty good one. And it's just not super scary.
And you said Candyman doesn't show up till the...
Yeah.
It's fucking Godzilla!
He's right on this one.
Yeah. No, I mean, he is, but the difference is, so Candyman is sort of a
representation of what?
No, he's not even a representation. He, I can't think of what they're called. It's like a folk legend thing. So that's like the whole, the first act.
I'm gonna say this sounds, that just plays right into it's like a Godzilla movie.
This is a Godzilla movie. It's a Godzilla horror, it's a horror movie, but it's Godzilla. I scared Chase by yelling that, but I wanted to yell that for dramatic effect. But
so, I've only ever seen the American Godzilla movies, and they're all very bad. So let's go with that also. But the first third of this movie is this woman who's doing research into this folklore about the Candyman, and just weird shit is happening as she's doing this stuff. And then the middle half of the movie, you basically know that Candyman is a thing and is making some really crazy, she blacks out at one point and wakes up and has decapitated this lady's dog and stolen her baby, and just wakes up in this woman's bathroom covered in blood. And then stuff like that keeps happening. She keeps having something bad happen to her. She blacks out, wakes up, and somebody's dead.
She is Tokyo. Candyman is Godzilla.
So in Shin Godzilla, the movie where a majority of it is taking place in conference rooms, they know Godzilla is a thing, but they're just trying to figure out how to handle it and research it, try to understand it. And then Godzilla makes landfall and does things, and so then they try to react to that, and then Godzilla evolves and does more things, and they're trying to... I think Godzilla in Shin Godzilla is on screen more than Candyman is in 1990.
I don't know, but that sounds bad. I don't want to watch a movie where half of it takes place in a conference room.
You watched a movie where half of it is her in a fucking library.
I never said she was in a library. She's never in a library.
When you're doing research, you're in a library, okay?
No, she's this lady is, this is like an upper middle class white lady in the early 90s who's hanging out in the projects.
So she has her own encyclopedia to go through. Okay.
Well, so I think she is like a PhD student or something like that. She's working on her dissertation or her master's thesis or something like that. So they have they've been doing interviews with people and researching this stuff at the college, and the catalyst is she hears from a janitor at the college that whole Candyman legend is really big at this one apartment building in the bad side of town. But the lady doesn't know anymore because she's from the other side of town. But she's but yeah, this person knows more. If you want to go over there and talk to her, she might be willing to talk to you. But also there's a lot of people down drug dealers and stuff over there that might not be okay with you coming up there because they might think you're cops, and they might not be okay with that. And so there's a lot of suspense with that where she's going to these places and some of these people they come after her. Early on in the movie, she nearly gets murdered in the just fucking grossest bathroom I've ever seen. She goes into this public restroom at one point that this kid takes her to, and it's just yeah, somebody was killed by the Candyman in here. And literally somebody took shit and just wrote words all over the wall with shit. And then one of the toilets is actually just full of bees. Because bees are a big thing in this movie. But yeah, and then she gets attacked in this fucking bathroom and gets left on the fucking floor. And the fact that she didn't die of a staph infection immediately with the big gash she had on her head, I don't believe it. If anything, this whole movie after that point should have been a fever dream of her just dying from dysentery or something like that. Because there's no way she didn't get infected after 20 minutes laying on that floor unconscious.
Maybe the whole rest of her head.
That would actually be, honestly, that's possible. They also apparently made 2 sequels to that before the newest one. So, take that what it's will. But it's got, what's the guy's name? He's been in other stuff and now I can't think of his name. Rich, did you watch enough of Walking Dead to get to the Hilltop.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember the guy that was originally in charge of Hilltop that just sucked a ton?
Well, yeah, I don't know who it was, but I do remember the mayor. He sucked because the mayor always in comics.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, that's right. That's true. He did suck in the comic too. But it was that actor plays that actor plays shitty guys really well because he plays the main woman's shitty husband in this one.
Yeah.
And he is super shitty the whole movie. But
so that was your Godzilla movie.
And you know what? That's probably better than any Godzilla movie ever made.
You see, if the title character isn't in the movie for more than a quarter of it of its run span, then I don't watch that kind of movie.
I mean, that's fine, but you do all the time.
Nah.
And no, and I don't want to watch a monster movie that the monster's only in it for 5 minutes.
Candyman is a monster.
No, it's a horror movie.
He's a monster.
He's not. He's a man. Literally, his name has man in it.
But he's a monster.
He's not, though.
Martian Manhunter isn't a man. He's a Martian.
Yeah, because he fucking hunts men. His name is Manhunter. This is Candyman. Superman is a man. He's male. He's not a human man, but he's still male. Batman is a man.
Batman is a man. Is Superman a man?
I mean, he is a male. He reproduces like a male. He can impregnate a woman and have a child.
I don't know. Male seahorses can get impregnated. So
No, he can't be impregnated. He can impregnate a woman and have a child with a human woman, which means that his biology is close enough to that of a human that the species can breed and potentially not be sterile, like a donkey and a horse make a mule, right?
Yeah,
and
something like that.
Ligers are actually real.
They are. They're tigers and lions.
And they are.
Well, so there's tigons and then there's ligers, and it depends on which one's the male, which one's the female.
Yes.
Fucking the animal kingdom's weird, and what people did to the animal kingdom is even worse.
Yes. It's a shock any dog can.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Anyway, I also watched this HBO limited series called White Lotus. Either of you guys heard of this?
Nope.
No.
All right, so Rich, I think you might enjoy it. Drew, it's a narrative show. You're not going to give a single fuck about it.
Not.
But so it's supposed to be an anthology. So every season is going to focus on a different group of people. But it takes place at the White Lotus Resort in Hawaii, which is a fictionalized resort it seems like it's supposed to be one of those all-inclusive places, like a Sands or something like that. And they have, properties all over the world in tropical locations. This one takes place on one of the smaller Hawaiian islands. And it follows 3 or 4 different groups. It follows some of the people that work there, and then some of the people that are just visiting for vacations. There's a newlywed couple. There is a family that it's a husband, a wife, their 2 adult/teenage children, and then their one child's friend. And it almost looks early on like it's going to be a comedy, but it's definitely not. It's definitely got more drama than comedy, but it does still have a bunch of just over the top stupid funny moments.
Yeah.
At one point somebody gets very upset at somebody else and they go into their room and shit in their luggage, and it's absolutely horrendous but very funny.
Okay.
Yeah, but a lot of it is just, minor spoilers. The episode basically opens up telling you that somebody dies. Because it's one of the main characters is in the airport, waiting to leave, and 2 people that have nothing to do with the show are there, and oh, I heard somebody died at that resort. And he looks out the window and they just show a coffin kind of getting loaded into the plane. He's like, yeah, they're loading the body onto the plane now. Now if you could please just fuck off. And then he turns away from them. So you kind of start it knowing somebody dies, but you don't know who. And the whole time there are different giveaways that oh, it's going to be this person, or oh, it's going to be that person. They definitely do a good job of trying to make you think it's going to be any one of these people for different reasons. The person it ended up being did not really expect it. There was a moment where I thought it might be because he was doing some really stupid shit, but then I'm oh no, they're setting him up to kind of be more just an antagonist than somebody that's going to actually die. And then they actually die. I'm just oh, well, I just fucking didn't see that coming. But yeah, it's 6 episodes. It's on HBOMax. It's an HBOMax original. It's got a lot of faces. You might not know the people's names, but you'll see them be I know that person and I know that person.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a It was a good little like small show.
Cool. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away just because I don't want to spoil it, but it definitely it walks that like drama like it's not a dramedy, but it walks that line where it's got funny bits, it's got serious bits. Overall, it definitely leans more on the drama side, but it's got that just mystery built around it that somebody dies, you just don't fucking know who it is.
Yeah. I mean, when you search it on Google, it doesn't. I don't know if Google has ever done said dramedy before, but it doesn't say dramedy. It does say comedy. I don't know if that makes a difference, but it is like it's not a dramedy. It's.
Oh, and actually, Rich, you'll the one guy. I don't know if you'll recognize him, but one of the main guys is from the last season of The Office. The two guys that sit in the annex. Yeah, he is the one that dates Erin.
Yeah, it's Plop.
Is that what they call him on the show?
Yeah, they call him Plop.
I don't remember that.
They call him, or no, Andy calls him Plop. And then when Erin breaks up with Andy, he finds out that she's dating him, but Andy only knows him as Plop and doesn't know his actual name. So he goes to him and the other dude, Dwight's doppelganger, and is like, I need to find out who she's dating. I need you guys on this to figure out who it is she's dating. The whole time he's talking to.
I do remember that. Okay, yeah. I've only watched that show through like that once, whereas you've done it countless times.
Yeah.
Because by the time I watched it, it was only going to be on Netflix for another like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's one of the main guys. He plays like an asshole, and he does a really good job at it.
Yeah. And there's also I think Stifler's mom, I think, was in it.
Yeah, Stifler's mom's in it. Steve Zahn, who's been in a bunch of stuff, is in it. I can't think of the actress's name, but she's been in a bunch of. It's the younger, dark-haired actress. She's been in a bunch of the Rock movies.
Alexandra
she was in like
Daddario?
Yeah, her. She was in like San Andreas. She played the Rock's daughter.
I don't recognize her.
And then the Rock. The other family that Steve Zahn is the dad in. The mom has been in like American Horror Story and a few other things. So like it's got like people that like you see them, you're like, I know that person.
It's got a decent cast.
Molly Shannon is in a few episodes.
Nice.
Yeah, that she's always funny.
Mm-hmm.
And like she's got hit that point where like she's old enough now that she seems to get cast as like a rich white lady a lot.
Yeah.
And just fucking leans into just the over the top bullshit of like that sort of rich white lady.
Yeah.
100% believe it.
Yeah, it's good. She's good at that. So I guess, are you guys ready to talk about anime?
Oh, sure.
I am ready.
You actually watched it, Drew.
I did watch it.
Holy shit.
Like, it was watching it during work, so not always 100% paying attention, but I did the same thing with wrestling, so I can't complain about that.
Man, I have put 100% dedication to both of these things you guys have had me watch. All three of these things you guys have had me watch.
Hey, I paid attention to all of those podcasts that you had us listen to.
I know. Just putting it out there.
I think you also have less leeway to watch stuff at work than we do, right?
I have more leeway. I friggin' watch...
yeah, he has more leeway to watch and focus 100% attention on.
But like, I watched this on Saturday, or Sunday. Like, I didn't watch it during work. I watched it...
Well, you watched it... I thought you watched it like Friday night.
Something like that, yeah. One of those days.
I
watched it... I mean, so do I.
Just joke. Relax.
I mean, Friday we were supposed to fucking play D&D.
Yo, literally no one else responded to that anyway. Like, I didn't even know that was actually a thing.
That's kind of on me that I didn't follow up with people. But anyway, yeah, we watched Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica. Wow, I said it. I was able to say it this time. Such a tongue twister.
Good job.
Thanks. So Cobb, this is your pick.
It was.
You run the show.
I mean, I always run the show.
Well, I mean, for the book club, it's whoever's pick it runs it. So.
No, I know. I'm kidding. So I guess just like, for anyone that didn't watch it, if you don't want to be spoiled to an anime from 10 years ago, you should probably stop listening. But otherwise, this is a magical girl anime from 2011 that definitely takes liberties with the tropes of those shows. I doubt either of you guys really know a lot of those tropes, but it's basically like Sailor Moon is a magical girl show. So, like
Okay.
groups of teen or like almost teen girls getting some sort of like goofy magical powers. Card Captors is another one where like that is technically a magical girl show.
Card Captors is a magical girl show? I mean, I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
She is a young girl that gets magical powers.
Okay.
And then wears goofy little fucking costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you look at some of that stuff differently, doesn't it?
I mean, I never really watched Card Captors. I thought it was kind of dumb.
See, I actually thought Card Captors was interesting.
I didn't put enough time into it, really, no. I just was like, oh, this is just Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm not going to watch it because I like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Except,
Which it wasn't anything like Yu-Gi-Oh!
I can understand why you'd have that because the cards kind of look similar.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, they're totally fucking different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in this one, it's basically, what if magical girls were actually fucking just dark? Just in, like, the whole concept of them was incredibly dark, and nobody actually knew.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even go as far as to say, like, what if they were dark? It was, what if there was no regulation?
I mean,
well, no.
Literally, like, well, the whole show, they're, like, fighting witches that are causing people to die. Either they're killing them or causing them to kill people to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And then, like, the ending, when you find out all what happens with them, is incredibly dark as well.
Well,
Yeah.
like, when I say, like, I wouldn't agree with it, not what if a magical girl anime went dark, but, like, the thought of what if magical girls just went dark, like, to me, it's like, what if the actual magical girls were just, like, went dark? No, it was more, to me, like, a response, like, this, like, both statements are right. Like, for the anime as a whole, what if the style of magical girls went dark? But it's also, like, what if magical girls themselves in this world had no regulation as well?
But that's how they always are. Like,
Yeah.
they're not the Power Rangers. They don't have Zordon. They're always just kind of, maybe there is some sort of creature that knows a little bit more about the powers than they do, but they're never in a situation where, like, there's anybody really in control of them. And in this one, they're basically, I mean, not even basically, they're 100% lied to by the QB. And I mean, it's a lie of omission. He just simply doesn't tell them the truth, but they also don't ask about it. But the fact that when they become magical girls, their souls are ripped from their bodies and put into those little crystals, and then just slowly get consumed with grief until they become the things that they are created to destroy.
Yeah.
And that when they do destroy the witches, they use their grief to cleanse their own depressions.
Well, and that their power is used to fuel the power for multiple different galaxies worth of civilization.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the power of emotion, of human emotion, is used to energize the civilization of the I can't remember the name of the race of.
Well, it's not just their civilization.
It was literally all other
the
civilization in
universe.
the universe.
Okay.
Like, it's basically the way that QB explains it in like that, like, 6th or 7th episode
Somewhere
is
around there, yeah.
the universe is dying. It's just in a perpetual state of decay, which is the truth. Like,
Entropy.
the universe is, entropy. It's just slowly dying. What that species found was that if they harness this energy from emotions, they can slow that entropy down and make it not happen.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of they need so much of it to slow it down that they just have to have this constant string of
energy from
young
teenage girls because they have the most, because emotion.
Yeah. I mean, and that is quite a fucking dig too. It's like, oh yeah, no, the only people this works on are like 13 to 14-year-old girls because they're just bags full of fucking emotions.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's fun or funny, whatever you want to say, that the title character, and she appears in the opening as becoming a magical girl, never becomes a magical girl in any sort of normal sense until the very last episode.
Yeah.
There's the episode 10 where they show the time loop that Hamura was going through to try. Hey, look, more time loops. That Hamura was going through to try and fix everything. She was one in, but you didn't see the start or the end really to it.
Right.
You just kind of saw bits and pieces in the middle because this episode focused on Hamura.
Yeah.
But at the very last episode, she finally decides to become one, Rich, you watch a lot of anime, so you might have gotten this feeling too. So in episode 11, second to last episode, Hammer is fighting the big bad witch that they've died to. They never tell you how many times she went back in time. It had to have been a lot, though, because she got way too badass.
Yeah. I fucking loved her, like, her ability to become badass. But move forward with your question. We'll get back to that shortly after.
So in that episode, at the end of it, she goes up against the big witch, loses, and then she's about to do something. I forget exactly what she's going to do. And that's when Madoka shows up, and they play like the badass music, and it just sounds like she's about to show up and actually do something like super badass and actiony. But because that's not what this show is about, she just goes, "Oh yeah, I just wish that I could just stop witches from happening. I don't want to beat them. I just want to just take their pain away." And it's just like, damn, like that's one way to just wrap this up without any actual confrontation.
Yeah. So she was getting ready to restart the loop. She was getting ready to jump back.
Right.
And like I think she actually wasn't fully able to because of the way she was pinned or something. But yeah, Madoka shows up and she's like, "You shouldn't be here." And she's like, "I'm ready to make my wish and become a magical girl." And it was, I mean, that whole ending sequence, like episode 11 and 12, was really, like you said, it wasn't this whole like she actually becomes this super epic, like, magical girl and does some really crazy, like, Dragon Ball Z Bleach type stuff. No, it's just she makes this really intelligent, smart, plotted, thought out wish to stop the witches. And in turn, eventually stop herself from being the super witch. And it's just like, it was so well thought out, that ending.
Yeah, prior to that, during one of the time loops, they do confirm that Madoka, because everything kept getting reset, it kept making Madoka's potential that much more powerful. Mm-hmm. That when she does, in the one timeline, become a magical girl, she is strong enough to stop the witch that they can't stop, but then becomes an even more powerful one that was actually just going to destroy the entire Earth.
Yeah, her pretty much, when she makes her wish is to essentially just defeat that witch. And once it's fulfilled, she no longer has a life course, and her grief fills up immediately, and she becomes in that alternate world. Yeah,
and I thought the way that they played that whole thing out was just incredibly interesting. But I'm curious, Drew, what did you actually think of it?
So I'll say the first episode, I fucking was like, I don't know that I'm finishing all 12 episodes of this. Like, that first episode felt 5 times longer than every other episode. The rest, it felt kind of generic anime at times, but definitely a bit on the dark side of things. But, like, I don't know. I didn't hate it. I don't know that I'd watch it again, but, like...
I mean, like, no one expects anybody to watch it again.
I mean, someone might find... There are certainly someone out there that this is their favorite anime and have watched it over and over again.
Oh, this one is incredibly popular, and there is a sequel movie. So they did 3 movies for this, that the first 2 movies are retellings of the series, which is super common for anime. Like, animes do that all the time. Yeah. The third one is called Rebellion, and it is actually a sequel and happens after the show. I actually haven't watched it. It's impossible to buy legally for a reasonable amount of money.
Huh.
It's not on any streaming platforms. The only Blu-ray I was able to find was like $82.
Yeah, no, that's too much.
Yeah. But somebody does keep uploading it to fucking YouTube in dub and sub versions. So if you're interested in seeing kind of like what the next step is, there's always that. Yeah. But like, did you expect it to go where it went with it?
What exactly do you like?
So like, did you expect it to turn out to be like this weird time loop where actually they were like, witches were actually just them all along?
No, that I didn't expect at all. I did kind of think around like the 4th or 5th episode that the cat thing was kind of evil-ish.
I mean, I kind of got vibes right from the beginning the first time I watched this. Yeah. It was just like, there's something up with that little fucking thing.
Yeah.
Also, the English voice actor is Cassandra Lee Norris, something like that. She's the voice of Morgana in Persona 5, the cat.
Oh, okay.
And
so you were sus to begin with?
Yeah, because like while Morgana is not a villain in that game, Morgana's an asshole in that game, constantly fucking telling you to go to sleep when you're not ready to go to sleep. So as soon as I hear that voice, I'm just immediately just on the defensive.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely didn't expect it to go where it went, but yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about this for both of you? What did you guys think about the art style? Because it does have like it's a little more rough anime, I feel like, for the normal stuff, but then during like the witch encounters, it just goes fucking weird.
Well, I can tell you exactly what and I had been writing little notes to begin with, but fell off as I was watching Z at work. The witch labyrinth stuff reminded me of Monty Python stuff. Like, go look at old Monty Python.
I had the same thought.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't really watch old Monty Python stuff, so I didn't really get that, but I was a huge fan of that.
Well,
of their merging of art styles, of having the witch realm be one thing, but still having the characters look very anime, and the witches themselves were just insane looking. It was so good.
I have a note that I wrote down about that. Let me actually pull this up real quick, because I wrote it while we were watching. It might have actually been the last fight, now that I think about it.
While you're pulling that up, I want to go back to something Dritten said earlier, because I actually want to corroborate with it, that not just the first episode, the first couple episodes, it was a slow burn. It felt... It wasn't as good as I thought it was, or as I was... Not even thought I was going to be, but the first couple episodes felt long, and there was quite a bit of both storytelling and just everything going on that they just it was up until, and I think that was this is episode 4 or 5. It's up until Mommy dies. Those couple of episodes are kind of slow and not all that great.
And it's very much set up like a more traditional magical girl show. Where some characters are getting powers. It just happens to be that this one is a little weird because the title character has yet to get powers.
Yeah.
But, her friend decides to make a wish. The girl with the black hair is very much to use Bleach as an example, because let's be real, Bleach is basically a magical girl anime. Just with boys.
It absolutely 100% is.
Hamura is basically Ishta.
Yeah.
At least, that is how they're set up early on, where Ishta shows up as, just the unknown factor. He's broody. He doesn't like the protagonist. The difference is you find out at a certain point that, Hamura actually cares for Madoka and has basically... I can only assume that she looped that month hundreds of times.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no way she went from clumsy, barely able to, walk on her own 2 feet to fucking, all the crazy bullshit she started doing.
Yeah.
In anything less than just hundreds of months.
And speaking of crazy bullshit, we'll get into it now, unless you're still looking for unless you found...
Oh, no. So I have that. So the thing that I wrote down about the witch fights, it was particularly one of the last ones. Mm-hmm. They have a serious, old school JRPG vibes to them. In particular, for whatever reason, some of them felt like a mixture between Final Fantasy VIII and Persona 4, which I know you guys didn't play Persona 4, but there's just something about the kind of over the top weirdness of it. And Drew, for Final Fantasy VIII, I'm thinking more of when you're fighting the sorceresses, and they're kind of it's not so much the zaniness of them, but just the weird way that they're kind of set up when you do fight them.
Yeah.
And also the music, the music had a very JRPG boss feel to it.
Yeah, the music in the show was cool.
Yeah, the music was, but with Hamura, her powers, we need to spend some time talking about how just ridiculous it was. That all her powers was that she could pause time and basically hold everything she can find in her bracelet thing.
It's a shield.
Yeah, her shield thing. So she just flat out just had guns and missiles and cannons just stored up in her fucking shield thing. So,
but the best thing was how she got it. She would freeze time and then just go rob people that had guns. Yeah. She broke into a Yakuza club and just fucking froze time and stole all of their weapons. During one of the, I don't know if you caught it, but there was one point right after she got her powers, before she realized she was kind of useless in combat. She was reading a website online about how to build a bomb.
Yeah, she's reading the Anarchist cookbook, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what it actually was, but like it's just like she put in the work as
she friggin' in the final fight. She just stole tanks. She had like fucking rocket launching tanks just all set up when that fight started.
Yeah,
like
I do think all of their powers were pretty cool. The way that like they could just manifest weapons, like Mommy, like she just manifests like old like flintlock fucking rifles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, at the same time, as cool as it is, that's kind of ineffective because they're only single fire weapons.
But that's why she just keeps manifesting them over and over again out of those ribbons she has.
Yeah. And then the friend she got a sword. The other one had that awesome like chain long,
which was basically a
Kaku's.
Kaku's. Yeah. That was a Kaku from Bleach, also.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, kind of has the same personality.
Oh, definitely has the same personality.
See, like, all anime is the same if you look hard enough.
Yeah. I will say, a few of my notes, I do want to point out, these are aesthetically, this have nothing to do with, like, the large scheme of the anime, but in episode 1, you got to see her bathroom, and that was, like, the coolest fucking bathroom in the world.
No, dude, every building in this show is fucking incredible.
Dude, freaking in episode 2, they're at school and like the desks are fucking electronic and mechanical and shit like that.
Yeah, like they fold into the floor when they're not there. All their classrooms are just big glass fucking cubes.
Yeah.
Hamura's house is just floating screens everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Druten, I don't know if you took note in episode 2, there was writing in German on the wall.
I meant to like go back and look at that and try to translate it, but I did notice the German writing.
Yeah. And then I talked about like there was a point in episode 3 that they merged a bunch of different art styles together and animation styles. I do want to laugh at in episode 5 they were on the bridge. It was before she the soul gem over.
Okay.
And they're just walking up the bridge and then just you see cars come from the top and bottom and it's just 5 cars on each side coming in unison at the same time. Like
animation's expensive.
Dude, it made me laugh. I was like, everything else you do in this thing, but you have 5 cars on each side coming and meeting in the middle and going, like, come on. You could, and it just, like, had, like, random cars, like, this was made in 2010. They could have done a random car generator or some shit. And then the last note I have, like, because I watched, I didn't know what to note down because I knew I was going to remember a lot about this. But, so, like, I didn't have as many notes as I did with wrestling, but the last note I have is episode 9, probably the best quote from the entire show. If you ever feel like dying for the sake of the universe, call me.
Yeah.
No, QB QB had some really good lines, and like the delivery just, especially because the animation there was no facial animations. It was just a static face the whole time.
Yeah.
Like that, like high-pitched, sweet voice with like just that face and just the lines that were coming out of it. A lot of them were just so good and so dark.
Yeah.
Whereas like some of the other like especially in the first few episodes, I really did not like the English voice for Madoka. It just it seemed off. Like it like it seemed like whoever was doing it was trying to make their voice too childish. Whereas like her friend Sayaka, like, it sounded like somebody's just normal speaking voice, like an adult just voicing a teenager. And like, but not in like a weird way. It's like, okay, no, like a 14-year-old could sound like that. Like that's not completely unrealistic. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask you guys. I don't think so.
I wasn't all too like happy with Sayaka's like whole story.
No, she kind of sucks, but like that's kind of her purpose is to suck.
I don't think she sucks, but like they did her like it was that dig against girls and teenage girls is like she doesn't have control of her emotions. Like she gave her life and her soul for her friend to be able to play the violin again, but then instead of going after him, she was like, oh, I don't have a soul, so I don't deserve to have a life. So like I don't know, I felt like that was a like I wasn't happy with what they did. She was a cool character and like she had a good redeemable wish, but then she just like they sent her down in a bad route too fast. I mean, it's only a 12 episode anime, so like there's only so much you can do. But I wish that like she didn't suck that much, like, or at least her story didn't suck that much. Because even after the end, when Madoka makes her wish and changes everything, Sayaka still becomes grief-ridden and changes and disappears.
Yeah, because I think that's the one catch is when she makes her wish is to, and also Drew, the thing that you shared on the group chat like is accurate. Her wish isn't to like stop witches; it's literally to just undo their grief. But like when a magical girl still hits that level of grief, like they just disappear instead.
Yeah,
like she basically shows up and takes all of their grief into herself.
Yeah,
and then because she basically creates a paradox. It just makes her like a celestial being afterwards.
Yeah. And
which
so,
is like it's kind of neat, but like
yeah.
I know what you mean. Like Sayaka basically didn't get a second chance.
Yeah, but it's like it makes sense because we already saw it with Madoka and her one wish, where her wish would just be to stop that one witch, and then her grief overfills her once she's completed her goal. Like Sayaka's goal wasn't to stop the witches; her goal was to help her friend and find love in her friend, but then, like, it's just, I don't know, that they could have done better with.
I mean,
like,
to be fair, like, Sayaka actually made her wish for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
She did it because she liked the boy and wanted him to like her, not so much because she wanted to help a friend.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Her wish was incredibly selfish. It just happened to be to the benefit of somebody else.
And that was what Mame was telling her. Like, you don't want to do it for the wrong reasons. Are you doing this for you, or are you doing it for them? And she ended up doing it for her. But it was a self-righteous, or a selfless thing.
Whereas Kyoko, I think, is the other girl, the one that was constantly eating.
Yeah.
Her wish was actually, like, her wish was more selfless in a lot of ways. Like, she just wanted her family to be happy. So her wish was to the benefit of her family. It backfired on her in the long run.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's a bummer. But she never became a witch. So she gets to continue on in that new reality, like being a magical girl for the time being. I think that's the one thing too, is Madoka basically undid witches.
But then that got replaced by something else.
Something.
Maybe I feel like they set it up to maybe be slightly worse because like they couldn't be tracked as easily or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But it still gave them a reason to have magical girls.
Yeah.
So she didn't undo the need for them.
And that's the point of the paradox, though. Is the paradox was to stop witches, but like if Madoka had stopped all witches, past, present, and future, then she never would have had become what she was, and therefore none of this would have happened, which means she never would have stopped all the witches, and so it just would have been a continual loop. So with this new thing that the incubators and QB doesn't actually understand, it kind of shows that, like, they're still playing the same game, just slightly different.
They just don't have to worry about... They're not the cause of the cycle necessarily.
And I feel like that also kind of fit with your wishes kind of go bad. Like, she wished to stop the one thing, but then this is the outcome because you wished for this thing. Here is what the ultimate backfire on the wish that all of the wishes have. Here it was. New thing.
Yeah, and it definitely is a show that, it's not a happy ending show. At all.
One quick other thing was the other friend of the two, the green hair girl, when she had the gay panic in like the second episode, I was like, really? Come on.
Yeah, it's a
Japanese
anime from 2010, so
you could have just ended the sentence at Japanese. Like, I don't know that they've gotten any better about that kind of stuff as a culture.
As a culture, no, but like anime in a lot of cases has gotten better. Like there are quite a few like more modern anime that have like same-sex relationships that aren't super cliche and over the top kind of like bullshit.
I'm pretty sure there's at least one in the modern Sailor Moon. There's at least one same-sex relationship in the modern Sailor Moon. That
was in the original too. They edited it for Sailor Moon in the US got fucked real hard.
Yeah.
So it's two of the later characters that are like farther out planets, I believe. That in the American version they are presented as cousins that are just always fucking together. in actuality, they were in a relationship in the Japanese version, and then they also never localized the last season for America because it involved a group of boys that when they transformed, they turned into girls, and that just was not okay for fucking Toonami in 2001. So they just ended the series with the previous season.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that is very much America was against that one at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a lot, like when I was talking about Turner Gundam last week, like that one character, like it's kind of alluded to at the end that he actually had feelings for the main character the whole time, but just treated him like shit instead. And that's a very sort of like anime thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially from 20 years ago. But yeah, so neither of you guys hated it, which is nice.
I very much enjoyed it, and if it was easier to watch the movie, I would.
I mean, it's on YouTube. I'll send you the link.
Is it still on YouTube? It's getting taken down?
No. I said it hasn't been taken down yet. It's been up for several months.
Okay, so I might try to watch that. But yeah, it was a very enjoyable anime. It was nice to like go back and like I haven't watched a lot of anime. It was nice to like actually sit down and watch something that like isn't the norm of what I've been watching, and to like relive some, like get that little bit of nostalgia back, even though this isn't a...
Yeah, and it definitely has enough bits and pieces to it that makes it feel a little familiar. But then it just goes wild with like some of the animation and the music and just the weird plot points.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've never seen the movie either, so I might actually watch that on YouTube. I tried to find it legally and just fucking couldn't, because I'm not going to spend $80 on a single Blu-ray.
Yeah.
That's absolutely absurd.
Yep.
No, I totally agree.
But like that's one of those things where like if I'm ever at like a convention and I see that like on a shelf and it's, $20, $30 or whatever, like I'll grab it. Just like it's not available anywhere else. So
yeah.
But Rich.
Yes.
What is your pick for the next book club?
So I have a question. I'm going away in 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So, which means I won't be here when we talk about the next book club.
Or...
So...
I mean, we can just push it out another week.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I have a couple of ideas of what I want to have us watch. Do we want to push it out 1 week and just talk about whatever I'm picking this next week? And then we have 3 weeks.
I will tell you almost, unless it's something incredibly short, I don't know that I'll get around something.
Is 58 minutes short enough for you?
I mean...
So you're away the week of the 15th, right?
Yes.
So why don't we just plan for the 22nd instead? This way we don't have to rush in the next 7 days to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the week of the let's see, we're on the 31st. So yeah, the week of the 15th, which is when we would be recording, I'm away. So the 22nd. Then I'm not gonna have us roll dice. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna give us a little bit more to watch. It's gonna be within about the same amount of time frame as it's probably an hour shorter. But I just, for some reason, I want to get you guys to watch some Top Gear.
I'll watch Top Gear. I've watched plenty of Top Gear.
Oh, cool. So I was thinking there's 3 episodes in particular that I want to have you guys watch. I need to. It's on HBOMax, and it's also on Amazon as well, on Prime. But we all have it. What is the one set of episodes as a special? It's 2 1-hour episodes. Is the Patagonia special? It's the very last set of Top Gear episodes with the original cast before, just after Jeremy Clarkson had his final blow up on people. Mm-hmm. So it would be, I don't remember, I have to look up the episode.
You have to let us know specific episodes.
Yeah, I will. Give me 1 second, because the other one is a mid-season thing.
So while you're looking, I'll just throw out there, I've only seen like bits and pieces of a few episodes of this show. I did not like it at all. I was super bored. I didn't think the guys were interesting at all. So I have no problem watching it. Like maybe watching like a full episode will make me feel different about it. But like the little bits and pieces I've seen previously, and this is going back years and years, like I thought it was just a terrible fucking show. And I also don't like cars or racing or any of that stuff.
I mean, I give like 0 shits about cars, but I always felt like Top Gear was a pretty well done show.
Yeah, and it's more, watching the show, it's more about, like, especially with the original cast, with James May, Richard Hammond, and Jeremy Clarkson, it's more about their relationship between the three of them, and less about the cars. Like, these guys are ridiculous with each other. I watch Grand Tour on Amazon from time to time as well. It's their new show that they got. Jeremy Clarkson fucking sucks, but the three together are pretty cool guys. Or not cool guys, but like they're entertaining.
They have a very good rapport with each other, and I can totally see why seeing random bits and pieces of the show, like depending what you saw, might have had none of that rapport between them. That really is the show more so.
Yeah, like I think one of it would, like, they were all driving different cars in one of them, and one of them, like, I think another one they did something stupid with a car, and it was just,
that's pretty much every episode.
But I can understand what you guys are saying though. Like I was not getting any of their rapport with each other.
Yeah, because also usually there's like an in between. Like there'll be a segment, then there'll be an in between with them in the studio talking about like what they did or going to do, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so like I never saw any of that. So for me, it's just like, oh, cool. It's cars that I don't care about and people that I don't know talking about cars. It does nothing for me.
Which is why I was struggling to decide which episodes I have you watch, because I was originally going to have you guys watch two different specials, but they're hour each. It's two 1 hour episodes for each special. So I'm like, I'm not going to do two special. I'm going to have you do my favorite episode, which is it is season 21, episode 3. They go to Chernobyl. So just make sure to check the description, make sure they're going to Chernobyl.
Okay.
Or they go to the Ukraine and Chernobyl. And then the other two episodes are the Patagonia special, which is season 22, and on HBOMax it's episode 9 and 10. And that one is, like, they go to Patagonia, which is, like, the lowest town, or they go to the lowest town on Earth before you get to Antarctica. And, like, they base it on a mission to make good with the people there, but then just shit happens at the end of it, and it's just very tense. It's like an entertaining couple of episodes. It's 100% stupidly scripted, like dumbly scripted. So just go into it realizing that none of this is real. Kind of like how you need to go into wrestling
or anime.
Yeah, but anime's cartoons. Of course, it's not real.
Yeah, but those are what I'm gonna have you watch. And
how long are these episodes? I'm just curious. Are they half hour or?
They're an hour and like 2 minutes altogether. Like,
okay, so it's like 3 hours.
It's just over 3 hours. It's probably like 3 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah,
that's not so bad.
No, not at all. And I think over 3 weeks, like if you can try to watch a Patagonia special back to back. But like you can watch Chernobyl/Ukraine in the next week or so, and then watch the other two following after. These are just some really good episodes, and some of my... I think the Africa special is probably my favorite special, but this one for sure is...
That's fair. I'll accept it. I'm not going to like it, but I'll accept it.
No, that is fine. I don't expect you to like it. I find these guys friggin' hilarious sometimes and stupid, and so I just want to share it with you. I didn't know Drew never watched it.
Oh yeah, I've seen tons of Top Gear.
Yeah, I'm definitely like... I'm at least going to give it like a real chance. Like I'm not going to just write it off for the sake of writing it off.
Yeah.
Because, maybe, like you guys said, like maybe them having, like actually getting to see their rapport with each other and chemistry might actually...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It might just make it flow better for me.
Like, I even thought about doing... They have one episode, probably one of my favorite episodes as well, where they do a land race between a car and public transportation from London, England, from Wembley Stadium in London, England, to a stadium in Italy for a big soccer match, or football match, whatever you want to call it. And they have to get there within a day. So who's faster, public transportation, the car? And so it's two of the guys on public transportation with one of the guy in the car, and it's just like, that's a really good episode too. But I like the Chernobyl episode more. It's Chernobyl, and I find it fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, Chernobyl and Ukraine is actually super interesting, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I am at least intrigued more about that one, just based on that than the other ones.
Definitely watch the Chernobyl one first, and then watch a Patagonia special after.
Which makes sense, because I think that, like, the Chernobyl one is an earlier episode anyway.
It is, but it's for the most part, it is a car talk news show. So, Like, there are going to be bits that, like, don't really matter. Like, if they're talking news, you can probably just, like, phase out. I think there's a race, or, like, they're like their celebrity races they do in the Chernobyl one. You can kind of watch that, because it also shows how good of interviewers these guys are. You'll find out. I'm too excited to have you guys watch it. I could keep talking to you about it. Just watch it. Just watch it.
All right, that's reasonable. I'll accept it. And then Drew, you'll be up after that.
I'll figure something out.
I mean, you have that.
I do have
that documentary on there still.
Yeah.
So that is always an option.
Okay.
But
I'll be 100% honest. If you guys had agreed to just we'll talk about it next week. We're gonna watch the Netflix Monster Hunter movie.
The Netflix Monster Hunter movie?
Yep, it came out or it was dropped and released on August 6th. It's just under an hour long.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that coming out now. And so in my head, when you said Monster Hunter movie, I was thinking of like the big budget one from last Christmas ish.
I was going to, and we'll probably still watch this movie, the Netflix one, in the future. But I was going to play it out like, oh, we're gonna watch Monster Hunter, guys, because it's available on streaming platforms as long as you're subscribed to it. And then as you complain about it, like, oh, I'm talking about the one on Netflix. I was gonna play that joke and then tell you.
But I mean, we would have been upset either way.
I know. Trust me, I'm upset about it. I don't want to watch.
I was gonna say, I feel like you would at least have a better time with the live action one than with So like I just brought it up, and that does look bad. Also, the Bleach live action movie does not look good.
No,
it might be.
Really?
Just when you search Monster Hunter on Netflix, the like second row of recommendations for me has the Bleach movie, and it's the live action version of Renji with
dude,
that
movie,
his released.
The live action Bleach movie was really good.
Oh, was it actually?
Yeah, it was really good.
It doesn't look good.
It covers up until they take Rukia back to Soul Society.
Okay. Yeah. I heard like the Kenshin live actions were apparently really good, so I'm not totally surprised, but
yeah,
that one just doesn't look good, and that's at least an actual Japanese made movie instead of what they did with Death Note, because Death Note was bad.
I mean, even the live action Full Metal movie.
You know what? I never watched I don't watch the live action movies because it just seems weird.
It's the problem with it is they tend to just copy and paste the original story, just like a little bit added change to it. So it's like you already know Bleach. You've seen the first arc of it. You don't need to see this, but it's still like a good version.
Okay, that's fair. Man, Netflix has some just bad movies, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got a whole bunch of these Resident Evil movies that were not good. Maybe we should watch some of them. You guys want to watch a bunch of these really bad Resident Evil movies?
They only had one.
I just saw at least 2.
Which one? I might not know that one.
Extinction and Afterlife are both on Netflix.
Oh, you mean the live action?
Oh, yeah. Not the shitty one. I mean, you and I both watched the shitty animated one that was like the series from over this past summer.
But there's also some good animated ones that are canon along with Afterlife.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they are good. I've enjoyed them. I own one.
Oh man, I almost got really excited. I saw Doom on here, and I thought it was the really bad 2005 one with The Rock. But it's not. It's something else. It's called Doom Annihilation.
But I think that's a show.
Probably. It probably is. So yeah, our next book club will be in 3 weeks. It'll be those episodes of Top Gear. I will put those in the show notes if anyone wants to watch them with us. In the meantime, though, you can head over to www.one-quest.com for more of our content. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the fun places. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. Those things all help a whole bunch, too. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo, and you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. Otherwise, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
See yous.